Welcome to the 3 Championship Drive podcast, hosted by me, Lance Caporossi. Yeah. Couple hours, I'm going to go see the Spider-Man Brand New Day. I cannot wait. I never get to see movies a couple days after they come out. I don't even know if I've ever... I think I have been to like one premiere, and that was I Am Legend, where I don't even know how... I just remember how long the line was out of the theater, and I was a jackass this time because I was in high school, and I did spoil that movie for people, and man, so many people in line were mad at me. Normally, I do spoil movies, not for other people, but just for myself, because I normally never get to see them right away. It's usually a couple weeks or a couple of months, so I want to read ahead. I want to be informed. But, I mean, I always enjoy them. It's not like I spoil it for myself, and then I'm watching the movie, and I'm like, oh, this is coming up. I don't know, I'm really good at reading the spoilers, reading ahead, and blocking it out when I'm watching the movie, so it's never been a problem. Even when I'm in the barber chair and someone will say, I don't want to spoil the movie for you. Dude, it's totally fine. It does not bother me at all. If you want to share something that you enjoyed with me, it's not that big of a deal at all. Like I said, I'll still see the movie. But this is the first movie I have not spoiled myself with anything. Like, I'm going in without any knowledge. I know who Spider-Man is, and that's about it. I've seen the trailers, so I know there are some cameos that are going to be happening. That's fine. That's great. I do love the idea that it's more street level for Spider-Man. Like, I love the multiverse. I love the intergalactic battles and everything. But, like, Spider-Man, the Spider-Man I grew up with, he was doing street level crime, and I was fine with that. I love that version of Spider-Man. The space stuff is cool. The multi-universe stuff is great. That's fine. I really enjoy it. I just don't want that to be the only thing with Spider-Man. I like getting back to the roots. But I am excited. I cannot wait till my son is older so I can bring him to the movies with me. I cannot wait to watch all of the Marvel movies with him. I want to share that with him because his favorite thing right now is to be Spider-Man and me to be Hulk and just chase him around and fight. I do Hulk smash, I do the Hulk clap. Like, I throw him around. We have a blast. I even invented the Hulk tickle. So came up with that, and every time I'm tickling him, I'll be like, Hulk is tickling you. You know, just things like that. But I cannot wait to share this with him. I'm just so excited to finally be able to watch Marvel movies with him. Like, we've been dabbling in some of the older cartoons, and he does enjoy those. But he's still only 3, so it just really hasn't hit. But he has been asking for more superhero stuff. Like, it's pretty awesome. He's going to be Spider-Man for Halloween. I'll probably be the Hulk just because it would be fun. But let's get into this. Let's talk about the Pistons. Jalen Duren. There's no news that has been broken that we haven't already discussed or talked about. Any rumors or any news that has been coming out lately is just what we already all know. He wants the max contract, and him and the Pistons are far away. He'll probably play on the qualifying offer. That's a real possibility for this season. That's fine. We've talked about doing the sign and trade to Sacramento. Jalen Duren goes to Sacramento. Domantas Sabonis comes to Detroit. I've shared how I feel about that. I love Sabonis' game. However, I just feel like Detroit would have to change their offense a little bit to maximize Sabonis' playmaking abilities, and maybe they can with all the new shooting. Maybe they do some more dribble handoffs. Maybe you get more guys cutting to the basket, and if they do trade for him, maybe they do add wrinkles of a motion offense to what they're currently doing. I just don't know. I just don't love the fit, and I'll get people telling me like, well, he can be a secondary creator. I just encourage you to go back and watch the Sacramento. Go watch them in their peak offensive days, and you will see what I'm talking about, how you'd have to change the offense. It's very different. He doesn't create offense like a Cade Cunningham or a guard does. He's an intelligent player, makes timely passes, and he rewards guys for cutting. That's pretty much how he play makes. It's very different than what you see with Cade. That's why I say you would have to. It's not just like we're just going to go throw the ball to Sabonis and we're going to watch him create and we're going to watch him operate. That's not how it all works. Maybe occasionally, but no, there's just going to be. I do really think things would have to change in Detroit to make it work with Sabonis. That's why I'd be out on that. But there's a new trade. It's a 3-team. It's Houston, Brooklyn, and Detroit. Jalen Duren goes to Brooklyn. Michael Porter goes to Houston. Kevin Durant, Clint Capella come to Detroit. I am in favor of this trade. I just, for me, I know I've talked about Jalen Duren, how there is a chance where he can grow as an offensive player. I do see a world where he could average 24 and 10 for the Pistons. I don't know how realistic that universe I'm talking about actually is. I don't know if Jalen Duren can actually develop that way. I think he's content with being a rim roller. I don't know if he wants to expand his game. That's what I would have to, that in my opinion, that's what would have to happen. And unless I've seen it more than a few times, I don't know if I really believe in the change coming. So I'd be happy. There's plenty of centers that do what he does. I'm not saying you can find a 20 and 10 all-star, all-NBA third-team center in free agency, but there are centers that can screen, roll to the rim. They have good hands. They can finish at a high clip. They rebound and they defend. If Jalen Duren does two of those three things, you're probably not winning a championship. But if you find a center that does all those three things, even if the scoring's at a level less than Duren, you're probably better off. You're probably in a better position to win than you are with just the offensive center. It just doesn't work with traditional bigs in today's NBA. Like, there's only been two champions with two back-to-the-basket centers that couldn't shoot outside 3 feet. The makeup of today's NBA, it just doesn't allow for that. You have to be really good offensively and almost be a hub, or you have to be above average defensively in order for it to work. So I like the trade. I like bringing in Kevin Durant. I don't care really so much about Clint Capella. I don't care about the first round picks as much either, just because I do expect the Pistons to be drafting in the later first rounds, like late 20s anyway. So how much is a late first really worth? But I love the idea of Kevin Durant. I love the idea of a 6'11", 7-foot scorer that can hurt you from all three levels, can get to the free throw line, and he can create for others. The gravity and what he would open for everybody on this team, I think you have to take a serious look at it. That's a hell of a trade. And I'm seeing people say it would be stupid to trade a 22-year-old all-star center. Okay, he's only been an all-star one time. That doesn't mean he's going to continue to make all-star teams and all-NBA teams. Like, let's be for real here. There is a real chance where Jalen Duren does regress, where he's not the 20 and 10 guy anymore next year. There's so many more mouths to feed in Detroit. This offense is going to be better. There's more shooting. There's just more offense. Like, that's just what it is. Like, Jalen Duren, he's not even going to be the only guy setting screens and rolling to the rim. We got that with John Collins. That's part of his game too. John Collins is one of the better finishers in the NBA. You mean to tell me you're going to sit here and tell me you don't think he's going to take touches away from Jalen Duren? You're crazy. I don't think it's stupid to explore the trade. I don't think Jalen Duren, as the franchise guy for a team, is going to win anything anyways. I think his game is too dependent on having a guard set the table for him. I've seen the points per possessions. I think he's averaged like 1.1, but like, that's great. I just haven't seen enough of the self-creation for me to really get excited about it. I'm not even trying to dump on Jalen Duren. It's just these situations, dude, they're funny. Players do get exposed after a contract year. We're not even talking about that. I just think there's going to be real regression from Jalen Duren. I don't think he's going to be a bench warmer or anything. I just don't see him averaging 18, 19, and 10 next year. I just don't. Like I said at the top of the podcast, I do believe there's a world where he does grow offensively. I just don't know if it's in this world. And I just say, if you could get a Kevin Durant who I think fits better than Jalen Duren, but also gives you a better chance of really competing in the NBA, that's fine. And then you see people like, but then we'll start with Paul Reed, and Paul Reed, he's not a good starting center. Dude, you don't think if they trade for Jalen Duren, they're going to go try to make another move? You don't trust Trajan Langdon to do that? Instead, you doom and gloom and think, oh, well, it's going to be Paul Reed and Tulu Smith. Is that really what we want? Who says? Who says? And if you look at the advanced numbers of Paul Reed, he's a pretty damn good player. I don't want him to start either. I think he's very similar to Isaiah Stewart in the sense that he's probably better in less minutes. I just don't know. I wouldn't be concerned with Paul Reed starting at the 5 if the Pistons did bring in Kevin Durant. I would have to think Trajan Langdon would have to know, we need to upgrade the 5 spot if Paul Reed's going to be our starter. I trust him enough. Daniel Gafford's available. There's probably some centers. You could probably make a trade with Charlotte. They got 2 young centers. I don't know how they play both of them if there's enough minutes to go around with Kalkbrenner and Moussa Diabate. Moussa, I'm not saying he is Jalen Duren, but you mean to tell me he can't set screens and roll and finish at the rim? He can't do that. I mean, he seems like a pretty good rebounder from what I've seen. I had him in fantasy last year. I just think that we're a victim. I'm sure all fan bases are like this. I'm not a part of all fan bases. I'm just a part of the Pistons fan base. But it does seem like we really love our own players so much that we're so unwilling to let them go out of fear that they might become better for a new team. Okay, then so what? If the Pistons get better in the process, who cares? Like Jalen Duren, like I'm not losing sleep if they trade him. That's crazy to me. You'll see people like, well, where would you find another one? What? You mean to tell me there's never going to be another center that averages in 20 and 10 in the NBA? There's never going to be another guy that does that? Really? Really? There's never going to be another guy that sets screens and finishes at the rim at like 65% from the field. We're not going to see that again? Come on, man. Don't do that to me. Don't say that. If that's really your biggest concern, you don't want to upgrade the team because you're afraid that the Pistons won't find another 5 that can set good screens and roll to the rim and finish. That I'm sorry. I'm all in on Kevin Durant. You're not going to convince me not to take him. We rarely in Detroit get superstars. And I'm not blinded by the superstar hype. Kevin Durant is really that good. We're not talking about Carmelo Anthony here, who is more of a selfish player where I wouldn't want that. If that was the name, I'd be okay. I love Carmelo Anthony's game. It's just not a winning basketball to me. Kevin Durant, he can win basketball the way he plays. He wants to play a certain way. He's not a selfish ball hog. He's super efficient. He will take the back seat from time to time, but he's one of the best players ever. I just think if he is seriously available and there is a chance to bring in Kevin Durant and it's only going to cost Jalen Duren a couple of first-round picks, I'm all for it. I am all for it. I would have no problem with it. This whole thing with Jalen Duren has left a bad taste in my mouth. I will root for him if he stays in Detroit. I'm not going to just sit there and boo him every time he touches the ball. That's not the fan that I am. But like I said, I'm not going to lose sleep if they trade him. I'd be totally fine with it. Kevin Durant, let's bring him in Detroit and let's wear the teal jerseys all next year. That's what I want. I'm sure there's some people that are turning this off because they're like, wow, dude, teal and Kevin Durant, and you want to get rid of Jalen Duren? And again, I am still a fan of Jalen Duren. I do like his game. I just try to be realistic. That is all. That is all. But I'll shut up about Jalen Duren right now. There's enough of the conversation to go on where you can get your fill of it. I saw this on Reddit, and it's, should Ron Holland start next season? He did a great job defensively. There's obviously a lot left offensively. I don't know where he fits in the starting lineup. There's no way you could see the Pistons rolling out a lineup of Cade, Asar, Ron Holland, John Collins, and Jalen Duren. You would probably start off so slow every single game. There is not enough offense in that lineup. I do not see Ron Holland starting unless he takes a huge step in shooting the ball. I really do feel like with Ron Holland, shooting is probably more of a priority than it is for Asar. I know it sounds crazy because we'd like for them both to shoot. But like Asar, like there's enough clips out there to see where like he can operate as a ball handler. I'd like for him to tighten up that handle. But for Asar, it's not really like, I don't really care if he starts making 3-pointers. It's how does he attack the offense when he can't shoot 3-pointers? Can he improve enough to do that? Can he be a downhill player? Can he actually hit a 15-foot mid-range jumper? Does he shoot enough threes to actually keep the defense honest? He doesn't have to always make them, but I'd like for teams to keep him honest. I don't need him to be an all-world 3-point shooter. I probably don't even need him to take one a game because I do think his offense, there is enough offense in his game that hasn't been tapped into yet, where if you just get more spacing around him and Cade, he'd be totally fine. I'm not worried about that. But with Ron, I am, because he's a little bit more reckless. He's not as patient as a ball handler as Asar, it seems like. It seems like he rushes things where he sees one hole to the rim and he's like, it's always going to be there, and that's just what I'm going to take. With Asar, it's like you can tell when things close up, he can backpedal and reassess and make another move. That's fine. Like, I really do believe Asar, that could be him offensively. So no, really, to answer the question, I don't see Ron Holland starting next season. I just don't. I like him off the bench. I think the 9-to-5 thing between him and Asar is pretty cool, where you have an all defensive first team perimeter defender in Asar Thompson. And, you see him walking over the bench and you're an offensive player and you're like, whew, glad he's going to the bench. Time for me to cook. And then you see Ron Holland coming in. You're like, damn it. They can't do nothing. Like, how am I going to score on these guys? They're just throwing two of the best perimeter defenders on me. Yeah, I'd rather see that. I think Ron Holland's best role currently, how he's been playing, is probably an energy player off the bench, just like a 6th, 7th, or 8th man. Someone that's a part of the rotation, someone you could play 18 to 20 minutes a night. Doesn't really bring it offensively, but he's not going to hurt you. He's not so bad offensively that you're really going to be like, damn, we can't play this dude at all. He's decent enough where you can play him. But again, I don't see Ron Holland starting unless there's an injury. I don't know. If we're talking about starting lineups, I kind of want to see Isaiah Joe over Duncan Robinson, because I think Duncan Robinson can still thrive off the bench. I think Isaiah Joe can too. But I think Detroit traded for him, not just for the three-point shooting, but because they do fully expect him to start by the season opener. I do think Isaiah Joe starts. I think the lineup is going to be pretty simple. I think it's going to be Cade, Isaiah Joe, Asar, John Collins, and Jalen Duren. That's the 5 I think you're going to get, unless another move happens in the offseason. Maybe Jalen Duren gets traded and they start someone else. I have no idea. But those would be the 5 that I say. So Ron Holland, again, for the 3rd and final time, he won't start for the Detroit Pistons next season. I still think he'll play a major role. He's just not going to start for the Detroit Pistons unless there is an injury. So this is something that I don't know. I kind of want to talk about it. I kind of don't want to talk about it. You can go on my @3ChampionDrive Twitter and you can see the picture. Maybe I'll put it on the YouTube community. But I made a Mount Rushmore of Pistons guards throughout the history. I'm probably going to do this with just guards that I have watched. But here is my list for just guards. These are the 4 faces I would put on a Mount Rushmore to honor the Detroit Pistons. It's Isaiah Thomas, that's a given. Joe Dumars, another given. Chauncey Billups, I think that's another given. I think those 3, I think probably like 90% of Pistons fans would probably agree with those 3 names. Those are the 3 finals MVPs. Kind of crazy that the 3 championships we have, all MVPs went to guards. But I think those 3, you really can't make an argument for not having them. I think even if you were going to do a Mount Rushmore of just players, those 3 would probably be on it. And you're probably looking at like Ben Wallace or Bob Lanier, depending on what kind of flavor you like. But so my Mount Rushmore of guards, Isaiah Thomas, Joe Dumars, Chauncey Billups, and then Dave Bing. Now, I've never seen Isaiah Thomas, Joe Dumars, and Dave Bing play. I just know about the history. Dave Bing, I wanted to add Rip to it, but I felt like the one championship was good. He had a couple all-star appearances. I don't believe Rip Hamilton actually had any all-NBA teams, but I know he made the all-star game. It's just hard for me to look at his resume with the one championship and being like, yeah, he should be on the Mount Rushmore of Detroit Pistons guards. Now, I'm not going to knock anybody for picking Rip Hamilton to be on their Mount Rushmore of guards. He's not on mine. I loved him in Detroit, 9 years, 18, 3, and 4. I'm always surprised when I see his assist numbers because I felt like he was really just a scorer. But, man, he was a 23-3 guy shooting 46% from the three-point line when he made his first all-star appearance. It was crazy. I remember that year like nothing, just remembering, like, why don't you shoot more threes? Like, that just seems like a weird part of your game that you don't do. Like, he's known as a shooter, but he rarely ever shot him. I do blame Larry Brown for a lot of that. But anyway, yeah, Rip is not on. Dave Bing, on the other hand, if you don't know who Dave Bing is, other than the guy that said he doesn't think that Cade Cunningham is a serious franchise player, and yes, you can look that up. He did say that. But Dave Bing, his resume, Rookie of the Year, He has 2 All-NBA first teams, an All-NBA second team. He has multiple 7 All-Star appearances. He was the 67-68 scoring champ. He was also the All-Star MVP, and he was named NBA's 75th anniversary team. It really does suck that his career, at least in my opinion, gets overshadowed a little bit because he never won the big one. But this guy, I mean, man, you talk about just a killer for Detroit. I understand he's playing in the 60s, but 27 a game? 27 a game in his fifth season, at 27. Age 27, average 27 a game, played 37 minutes per game. Shot 47% from the field, 80% from the line, averaged 4 rebounds and 5 assists. He was a killer, dude. It's going to be hard when Cade Cunningham, because Cade Cunningham, he will most likely make the Mount Rushmore of guards in the Detroit Pistons history. And I'm looking at it and, like, I don't know. There's only a few franchises where these questions are really tough of who you would add and who you would remove. But it would probably be Chauncey Billups when Cade kind of comes into his own. And we start giving him these titles as we always do. But you look at Chauncey Billups, 5-time All-Star, 3-time All-NBA, 2-time All-Defensive Team, Finals MVP, Sportsmanship of the Year, NBA champion. He did the thing Dave Bing couldn't do, which was win the big one. But, like, I don't know. I think if Cade takes it to another level, or it just keeps playing at the level he does for a couple more years, Chauncey would be removed from the Mount Rushmore for me. I just can't. I think it would be such a disservice to Dave Bing to say, just because you didn't win a championship, I'm not looking at you as one of the greatest guards in this team's history. But I mean, yeah, so I would keep him on. As of right now, if I had to replace Chauncey and had to put Cade on the Mount Rushmore, I am taking Chauncey off. I'm keeping Dave Bing on. He was just too good of an individual player for me to not recognize him. I understand he didn't win the championship, but he is on the 70. He's considered one of the 75 greatest players. It would just be a disservice not to have him on the Mount Rushmore just because he didn't win a championship. I truly think he's one of the best guards to ever play in the red, white, and blue. And it just sucks that I never got a chance to watch him live. I mean, he's like 30, 40 years before I was even born, but like still, it's just, this is just one of these guys that I wish I could have got to watch play. It would have been really cool. Dave Bing on the Mount Rushmore. If you want to go see that photo, go to my Twitter account and go check it out. I think it looks pretty legit. Again, made with AI though. I mean, I kind of did it on my phone. Like I make really rough sketches on my phone using like Canva or some other apps. But Canva's been the one because my daughter likes to use it. So I make them with they look like crap. I would never show them. Then I put them in AI, tell them, hey, this is what I was trying to do. Clean it up for me. And it just, boom, it just does. I understand people have their problems with it, but I am a small-time content creator. I do not have the money to pay a graphic designer. I've also paid graphic designers in the past. My wife can tell you the things that they have made, they were not very good. I will continue to use my AI friend to create graphics and just content for my social media. Sure, you didn't want to hear that, but whatever. It is what it is. I just want to say thank you for listening to the 3 Championship Drive podcast. Do me a favor, follow, subscribe, rate, review, but more importantly, tell a Pistons fan